Hello once again, and welcome back to Movie Deputy Reviews, where we are doing yet another in-depth interrogation of another new movie here for you. And I hope you made it through yesterday as we were talking about the new Superman. If you have not caught on to that review yet, go back and check it out. It's definitely interesting. And don't worry, no spoilers. You will never find spoilers with Movie Deputy. And so that's one thing you don't ever have to worry about, but you may find that I am a lot more harsh than some may realize, because I am one of the few mainstream critics out there, or I don't even know if I qualify as mainstream, that I review movies from both a personal and a professional perspective. I always stay true to the Deputy scale, which you can find on the About page at moviedeputy.com. And I always, at least since I have come out politically, I'm not doing any of that weird, like, coming out of the closet type stuff. And I mean, if you are, that's good. That's fine. Do you. But me, I used to stay pretty neutral with Movie Deputy, and that involved rating movies that should not have had anywhere near the review or the score that they got. And since I kind of changed things up a little bit, I'm still staying true to the score, but I'm also sticking to reviewing movies from a constitutionalist perspective. Now, what does that mean? Well, you're probably going to have to just listen to some of the reviews and find out. My biggest thing is I look at the age appropriateness of the stories. I look at the target audience. I look at how well the story is told, if there's plot holes, or if the story just doesn't make sense, if it's a repetitive story, if it's something we've seen before, done before. I look at all of that, but then I also look at if it's woke or not. And that is one of the biggest things that I call out on movies, that just is like, oh, come on. And I hate that so many movies are just, that's the norm anymore, and that they go down that path. But you're probably wondering which movie we're talking about today. And it's important that I kind of touch on a lot of that stuff before I get to this today, because of some of the things that this movie touches on, and I just want to be sure and cover that. Today we are talking about Jurassic World Rebirth, and I believe this is the 7th movie in the series. I'm trying to go off memory on that. But in this one, we see a character that we've known very well as Black Widow from the Marvel series. And so, of course, we see Scarlett Johansson in this one. We see a lot of other familiar faces, but unfortunately, you're only going to see one familiar face from the previous Jurassic stories. Now, this particular person plays a big role in this story, but they may not be as memorable to you as you think. But in here, we see a family that is kind of taking their last hurrah vacation together before the oldest daughter starts college. And so they're out taking a sail, and they're just kind of traveling. They're trying to go to somewhere in Africa, and they end up going through some waters where there are some dinosaurs. And it ends up kind of creating a hazardous issue for them, and so they have to reach out for help for another boat. Well, the boat that happens to be in the vicinity is the boat that is traveling to the Ile Saint Hubert. It's another ingen location where there are mutations is the word I'm trying to say, mutations of dinosaurs. And we have seen some of the mutations that they've done in the past, and you can kind of guess where this is going, but ends up being this one. It's the version 5.1. It's the version .23-3. It's the D-Rex. Now, this thing kind of looks like one of those dinosaurs with the big, like, helmet heads, with the front arms of a T-Rex and the arms of a human, and the back legs that are somewhere of a cross between a raptor and the T-Rex. Except this thing is the size of a house. And that's almost being conservative on it. So if you can even imagine something like that. But so the boat ends up rescuing the family, and they're going to the island. There's so much more going on with this, and it has a lot to do with dino DNA. Now, how does dino DNA play a role in something such as this? And that, you kind of got to look back to the first Jurassic Park. Go back to Jurassic Park from 1993. and think what is happening with the dino DNA. What is the purpose of the dino DNA? And they're taking it so much further with this one. And this would have been such a more powerful movie if they didn't go down the angle of kind of just the politically correct, borderline woke part of the story of that do something basically because it matters and not for profit, which there's nothing wrong with that idea. But when you're trying to do something basically globally and you're trying to just try to act and just do things in just the way that this is done here, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that belief system, depending on how it's done. And this, unfortunately, it just ends up being an adventure, a trek through the jungle. Think of the second Jurassic Park, and then think of things. There's some stuff here that is reminiscent of Jurassic Park 3. And then there's basically references to all but one of the other movies that's happening here. And some of the references are not necessarily as obvious as you might think. Other ones are just where you can't miss them. It's like, boom, here's your sign. So one of the biggest things that this touches on is that intelligence is natively overrated as an adaptive trait. And that goes for humans as well as dinosaurs. This is just... There's some comedy moments in this one. Don't get me wrong. There are some comedy moments in this one. One of the moments that kind of sticks in my brain, and I've even started using this in my daily conversations pretty much. I'm not hysterical. I'm homicidal. Now, you have to kind of have a really kind of a warped, strange sense of humor to kind of go along with that. But so you have this team of hunters, poachers, people who are trying to collect the DNA. You have this family that's just trying to survive and get home. So how does all of this interact with the dinosaurs, and do they get off the island? Well, it's Jurassic. It's a Jurassic story, so not everybody's going to get off the island, but it's not as simple as that. It's not just, oh, okay, they got eaten, or oh, they disappeared, or oh, this happened, or oh, that happened, because the story circles back on itself a few times. So what you're seeing on screen is not necessarily everything that's happening, and you kind of got to pay attention to those little details as the story is being told, or you're going to kind of get lost because you're going to be like, oh, wait, I thought that. Oh, no, what that happened. So you kind of circle back a few times as the story is being told. And there's nothing necessarily particularly bad about this one. The dinosaurs are kind of intense, as you can imagine how the evolution of CGI has evolved from 1993 to what it is today. And so they're more intense, they're more in your face, they're more it almost feels interactive. This one would be a freaky one to watch in 3D, to be honest. If you had the opportunity to watch this in 3D, that might be a little much. But I would say this one is probably easily safe for 8 and above. I would recommend it to the average viewer if you're a fan of the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies. Definitely go see this one because it plays a piece, even though it's redoing bits and pieces of a lot. Like if you took like just different scenes out of these other movies and you combine them with just these actors and actresses, that's basically what you get here. You get kind of a mismatch with a little bit of just kind of its own, just to kind of make its mark a little bit in the whole timeline. So, do I recommend this? Loosely. I loosely recommend this. Now you may be thinking, how can you loosely recommend something? Well, again, I'm just kind of spitballing on that a little bit, but okay, I'm going to go ahead and give this an innocent rating. Like I said, it's a little bit intense, but it's not too much over the top. Score-wise, you're probably wondering where I'm at. Well, again, this one might surprise you a little bit. I'm only at a 5.75 out of 10 on the deputy scale, which is watchable, decent story, significant flaws, and then almost touching watchable, good story, some flaws. So it's just kind of riding that fine line there just a little bit. Again, if you want to check out our rating system, check out moviedeputy.com on our About Us page, and it has all of our rating information there for you. if this has helped you at least a little bit for this movie, if this is one that you've kind of been on the fence with and you're like, I just want to wait and see what Deputy thinks. Well, this is it. So I hope this helps you at least a little bit. I mean, especially at the cost of going to movies nowadays, you want to know what you're going to see before you go see it. Not necessarily all the details. And of course, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but enough that I at least hope that I can help people save a little bit of time, money, and effort that goes into seeing a movie at the theaters nowadays. So, as always, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will be back soon. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.